All right, everybody. Misty Williams here, founder of Healing Rosie, and I'm here with my good friend Wade Lightheart from BiOptimizers. And today we are going to learn a little bit more about this amazing company that I hear buzz about everywhere I go. I was recently on their Amazing Health podcast too, talking about advocating for yourself, how to advocate for yourself. And we actually are sharing here a link to that interview for you guys if you're interested in checking that out. But I'm excited to talk to Wade to learn more about BiOptimizers and their product line. And they actually have some interesting products that are particularly helpful to our biology in light of the coronavirus. So we're going to get into all of that during this interview. Welcome, Wade.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm super excited to have you. And I've been looking forward to this interview for a while because, like I said, there's buzz for BiOptimizers everywhere. And I'd love for you just to kind of take us behind the scenes and maybe back to I don't know where the beginning is, how far back that is, but
yeah.
How did BiOptimizers come to be? What was your vision for this company? What inspired you to really blaze a trail here and build a company that has products that are changing people's lives?
Well, it comes down to kind of like Tim Ferriss once said that the best companies tend to originate out of someone trying to scratch their own itch. And that's literally what happened to us. So I was born in Canada and grew up kind of in a rural area. And then when I was 15 years old, 3 distinct things happened to me that kind of changed the course of my life. One, we moved to a extremely rural place where I had nothing but 5 miles to my nearest neighbor. And so I had a lot of time by myself. My sister was then diagnosed with cancer, and I watched her go through the medical model over the next 4 years. She was 4 years my senior before she died at the age of 22. So I had a very strong impact on me that your health is not guaranteed and your life is not guaranteed at a very early age. And then the third thing was she gave me a bodybuilding magazine at that time. And that had, it was a Muscle and Fitness with Troy Zuclato, a blonde guy who had won Mr. California with 2 pretty girls on the cover. And I thought, being 15 and driven mad with testosterone, was like, maybe if I had some of these muscles, I might get some girls. Don't buy into the Joe Eater lie, guys. But anyways, so I had nothing but to do. So I built a little gym in my barn and started training. And that was the genesis of eventually to study exercise physiology at the University of New Brunswick. And then from there I started, which was, give me a background in, exercise and biochemistry and biomechanics and things like that. But it was really a composite of kind of incomplete components. There was no synthesization. So I started to mentor under various people in order to advance that, and got into the career in the fitness industry virtually on every single level. And then in 2003, I had the great good fortune to represent my country at the Mr. Universe contest as, I think, the first or one of the first ever vegetarian drug-free athletes at the Universe contest. What I didn't know is I was kind of following the standard performance-based diet that bodybuilders typically follow. And after that contest, I gained 42 pounds of fat and water in 11 weeks. So I went from Mr. Universe to Mr. Marshmallow.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was
a friend that had that same experience doing bikini contests.
Being devastating. Here I'm. Yeah, quite common that happens. And basically what you've done is you as an athlete, you've just gone the performance level to an extreme level without understanding the aspects of health and vitality. And basically I had disrupted my digestive health system and compromised it. And I had the great fortune of meeting a medical doctor by the name of Dr. Michael O'Brien, who is in his 70s, and he had vibrant skin and he had so much energy and he was like the smartest guy I ever met. And I went to his seminar. I'm like, okay, obviously, this guy's doing something right and I'm doing something wrong. And which was shocking because, I had the background, I had the testing, I had the best coach, I had the discipline. And he said something that changed my life. He said, Wade, you've learned to build the body from the outside in. You haven't learned to build the body from the inside out. And I was like,
wow, that's good.
Whoa. And the fundamental assumption that virtually everybody makes is that if I put food into my body, it instantly turned into, it's digested, absorbed, and utilized as either energy units or building blocks. And your state of digestive health is going to determine whether that story is true. And right now in the United States, 12% of the emergency hospital visits are gastrointestinal related disease. That's people going in for major problems. 100 million people are suffering from digestive distress on any given day. A quarter of the population is taking some sort of either prescription medication or over-the-counter medication in order to deal with digestive stress. And all of this culminates from the changes in our production and distribution of food over the last 150 years. And we've solved the calorie problem, which was starvation was a big problem for most of the roads. But what we didn't understand is the impact that, farming with the use of pesticides and fungicides and herbicides, the advent of fertilization and depletion of mineral soils, and the disruption of protein content and enzymatic content, and the availability of natural microbes that are essential to the digestive health process, on top of the mass use of pharmaceutical agents such as penicillin and antibiotics, which have saved millions of lives. But all of this has a corollary effect that we didn't anticipate, as well as a definition of food that didn't contain things like enzymes and micronutrients and microbes and stuff that are essential to the digestive health process, because they just got naturally with our food prior. And so humans, being the only people that actually cook, manufacture, distribute, and completely change the chemical nature of our food production, are now suffering from the consequences of that, as well as the advantages. So I'm not here to condemn all that, but what I am here to say is to paint a picture to say, hey, the reason why people are gaining too much weight, the reason why people are having inflammatory based diseases, the reason why people are becoming overly reliant on pharmaceutical antibiotics is largely in part because of the disruption in our food supply. And I'm out here to advocate of what we can do to change that paradigm, and so that we live longer and stronger than we ever have before, as opposed to having a disability adjusted life expectancy of 60 years old. So we're living longer overall, but we're living in a compromised state like never before. And what we want to do is kind of reverse that trend for people by advocating why it is this, we're talking about enzymes and probiotics and stuff, but we didn't have to talk about that 100 years ago, and why it's so relevant today.
Yeah, it's really resonating for me, everything that you're saying, because in our community, the Healing Rosie community, one of the things that we talk about all the time is, how do we heal our body and live a vibrant life? We want a great quality of life as we're getting older. Don't accept when people tell you that this is all just a normal part of aging, that you have to accept that for your future. I think there's this shared commitment that we all have to learning what we can and doing what we can to improve our quality of life as we're getting older. So I'd love for you to talk about how that ethos has permeated the products that you guys have created that are really intended to kind of live up to that mantra.
Well, I'll go right back to that moment in 2003, or the end of 2003, early 2004. Here I am, a celebrated athlete for his, it's basically cosmetic fitness. You look a certain way, and that's the whole bodybuilding sport. And then I destroyed that. And so when I went under Dr. Michael O'Brien's tutelage, and he started giving me massive amounts of enzymes and probiotics and mineralization of my body, and I switched over to a raw food diet for a period of time. And in 6 months, I got all the inflammation of the body, recaptured my physical vitality and health. My business partner and I, Matt Gallant, had started a bodybuilding education information product, because I felt responsible. I was like, man, everybody that, like yourself, is everybody that's following this kind of competitive journey is going to end up in the same place, which is where most people end up when they're 40 or 50. We just, as athletes, we're just getting there faster. We're just doing the burner. We're just like, drag card who can't make the turn with life at the end. And so we started doing that, and we worked with it was literally 15,000 clients over the next 4 years, and gathered a lot of what I would call clinical data. So this isn't I want to separate what double-blind research, which is in a controlled environment, which is very hard to get people to comply to, versus clinical data, which is a wide range of people who are getting a reality like they're experiencing reality, and you're able to tweak and operate things. And what we were able to find is that most people can recondition their entire digestive system in about 90 days if they follow an elimination diet and advocate enzymes, probiotics, and hydrochloric acid. And so that's what we did. And after 4 years of that, I felt really confident. Now, I was able to make a comeback, captured another world champion, or went to the world championships, won 2 more classes, did better, didn't have the blow up, didn't have the complications, and then started taking that message to the general public, wrote a book called Staying Alive in a Toxic World, recognizing that we can't change everything out in the world. We can improve our immune system, our digestive capacity. And from that point, we've done, I think it's in the tens of thousands of people we've reached out to now to kind of share this message of how do you get your digestive system working properly, because it's a single canal from your mouth to your bum. And when you eat food, it's not actually in your body. It's in this tube that's going through your body. And that requires several different stages in order for you to break down your food. And the symptoms that you're experiencing in your life, whether it's acid reflux, whether it's heartburn, whether it's gas, whether it's bloating, whether it's blotchy skin, or constipation or diarrhea, are all indications that there is one key aspect of the 5 stages of digestion that is being interrupted. And there is a way to correct this using holistic health, using nutritional supplementation that's targeted for your situation, and getting your body back to where it should be so that you can absorb, digest, and utilize the food that you are eating, whatever diet that you happen to be on.
Yeah. Well, what comes to mind for me is I'm listening to you talk about this, and we kind of talked about it a little bit before we jumped in, although I'm going to learn along with everybody else, is right now we're in the middle of this huge, I don't know if I should call it a scare. There's obviously a lot of concern around the coronavirus. Italy has shut its borders, and I'm here in Austin. We've canceled South by Southwest. It looks like Paleo FX is postponed, might end up being canceled. Who knows? MotoGP here has been canceled. We've got some events happening in San Diego later in the month. Is that going to happen? Everyone is really concerned. Washington State has been hit with a lot of fatalities. And digging into that, it looks like the coronavirus actually spread in a nursing home. And so there was a lot of older people who have compromised immune systems, compromised guts, who were not able to withstand this virus. And, it really begs the question of what is this risk really? What's going on really? As someone who's been on this health journey for 10 years, I mean, I've definitely gone through times where there was something that scared the crap out of me. And what I found is that my fear around whatever this thing was, it's at one point it was EMFs. I remember getting so worked up about EMFs when that first crossed on my radar. But all of the stress that was generated from being afraid was actually more devastating to my body than whatever it was that I was afraid of. And so I'd love to have just a really logical conversation about this coronavirus and what we can do individually to support our body in having its defenses up, support our immune system, and being able to handle anything, not just the coronavirus, but anything that might come our way over the next few months specifically as we're dealing with this scare. So I'd love to get your perspective on that. What do we need to be doing, and how do we need to be holding all of this in mind from your point of view?
Yeah, great question. And first thing, I think you brought up something that's really important, and that is fear. When you are operating in fear usually happens out of incomplete information. Kind of like if you're walking into a dark alley that you don't know what's going on, that becomes a much more fearful situation than walking into a well-lit room in your own home. Right. Just give an example. And I think one of the key aspects is there is an incredible amount of misinformation and disinformation in regards to the current situation. So a lot of it as an individual is completely outside of our control. We are outside of the control of the news cycle. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I don't believe in coincidences as well. There's always, where there's smoke, there's fire. Obviously, there is an economic impact of this, regardless of the severity of it. And I do think that it's prudent to take precautions against any kind of situation like that. If you compare this to the SARS virus, there was about 8,000 cases, and were able to nip that down quickly. we're at somewhere like about 110,000 cases. So it's gotten a little way. The difference between the two is the incubation period. The incubation period is longer, and there's a shedding inside the lungs during that incubation phase where you're about 1,000 times more able to spread it. And the thing is you might not show the symptoms of it because of this long incubation period. As you identify, the people who have respiratory issues, smokers, and the elderly are the people who are most at risk. That is absolutely true. Fear is always alleviated through information, and particularly when you take that information and you drive it into preparation. And of course, there's a lot of people that are what I call health terrorists, that they profit from getting people to be really scared. That being said, I am not ignorant to the potential implications to our lives. And here's where I think the risks are. And I'm going to identify these quickly so that people can take action. Just did a webinar on this last night. First and foremost, the United States, and I don't know who never thought of this as a strategic military threat, has only about 90 days supply of the essential medicines that people rely on every day to stay alive and to function. 95% of the pharmaceutical drugs are actually manufactured in China, and recently, and some are manufactured in India, and India shut down their external distribution of essential drugs pharmaceutically. So the whole world is dependent on China. Therefore, whatever the Chinese government does or doesn't do, which is right now has the largest quarantine of humans in recorded history, is going on in China right now. That's what's happening over there. So that's already disrupted supply chains, as we were talking about before we got on this call, with people who are, purchasing products in China. People are getting, whether that's drugs, electronics, and stuff. And it's okay if you don't get the new iPhone this year if you're looking to get your insulin. So if you are dependent on regular medication, I would recommend that people who are go off and stock up on that in case that supply chain is interrupted with the mass hysteria. They just shut down Italy and all that sort of stuff. So that could happen here. We could get these type of components. Economically, it's going to have impact. So you know what? Stock up on some rice, some sardines, and some protein powder, and some olive oil. It's not that expensive. Have a good supply kicking around. It's not going to run out. You'll just use it if it blows over really quickly. But just having that, because those staples tend to run out quickly. Keep yourself hydrated. And then a couple of items that I think outside of anything that I'm recommending, these are just general applications that I'm suggesting to all of our listeners and people that we work with. Keep your vitamin C levels up between 4 and 9 grams a day as an immune system booster. The other thing, electrolytes, keeping well hydrated. I do believe in having your own water purification system at home, because oftentimes we may run into water supply if we get into quarantine issues, and tap water is not really the best for us. So I use a water ionizer at home that I have. So I'm independent. And I also make my own disinfectant, because I use electrolysis. I can make 2.5. I can disinfect my hands and disinfect everything. The other thing is you can go pick up a nebulizer off Amazon for about $50. And what I would suggest for that, because a lot of this is communicated through the lungs and airborne, is that you can do silver, add a little colloidal silver into your nebulizer, or a little bit of quinton, which is kind of sea minerals. Throw that in there and inhale that several times a day, because silver is very good at wiping out pathogens. It's what the US president has been using for the last 150 years. They use silver to wipe all their hands to not get contaminated virus, because they shake hands all the time. So it actually works very well in the lungs. And a little bit of nebulizing a couple times a day. That's what I'm doing. So please don't take this as medical advice or suggestions. Of course, legally we can't treat, cure, and all that sort of stuff. I'm not saying that, sorry, but that's what I'm doing. And then the other thing is we use our P3OM probiotic. Now that's not just a pitch because I want to get that product out there, but that has a US patent. And so this is not me saying this. This is the US Patent Office that has proven that probiotic has antiviral and antiretroviral activity. And what is so good about that in this situation, and one of the reasons why I haven't been sick in the last 15 years, is because I use that every single day. Now, how viruses work is they attach to your cells through a protein coating, whether that's any virus that's out there, And what it does is it attaches to the cell and then sends its RNA message in and starts disrupting the natural production of that host cell. And so what P3OM does, which is unique to it as a probiotic strain, is that it goes through the body and finds these undigested proteins, whether it's from your food or whether it's the protein coating on a virus. It can actually identify this as a foreign element, and it eats that coating off. Therefore, that cell cannot attach to your regular cells. That virus can attach to the cells and therefore can't disrupt the normal cellular function. So I take those every single night. I take 4 caps every night as part of my Advent. And during this proliferation of the virus, I double down and do like 8 a day. I do 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. And then if I'm out in public, I'll take 4 again, like if I'm out in the public areas, because I just know if there is a potential to be contaminated, I'm just going to give myself the extra defense during this time of kind of hyper aware or kind of hyper proliferation of this stuff. And I have absolutely no fears. I really don't. I'm not trying to say that to be, hey, look at me, I'm indestructible. We're all susceptible to that. But it's about building up your immune system, about building up the internal world. And that's what I wrote about years ago, is we can't control these external components. We can control our own internal immune system. And our immune system works by our probiotic levels, the levels of hydrochloric acid that we have capable of producing in the stomach, which destroys parasites, viruses, pathogens if we get something through our food supply, and then maintaining good digestive health, so any pathogen can't feed on undigested food, which is usually more on the bacterial side. But those are the 3 areas that we try and boost up. And then staying hydrated, because you want to get out of that fight or flight adrenaline component, which also wears your immune system down. And that's why if you get too fearful, the fear itself starts actually putting you in that fight or flight mode, which is a real drain on the systems, and that starts exhausting your supply of what I call energy units, and that's probably the biggest challenge. And so we developed a probiotic specifically for that, because maintaining it in the gastrointestinal tract is important, which was proven. And then also being able to fight off the invaders and being universally applicable, right? Whether you're on a paleo, a keto, a vegetarian, or just an all-American garbage diet. I shouldn't say that, but it's kind of what it is, right? So standard American diet.
Yeah. Well, this has been awesome. And of course, the basic things like wash your hands, 20 seconds, everywhere you go, that's really how this disease seems to be spreading, is hands, surfaces, and then people being in the direct line of fire of coughing and sneezing. So keep your distance, wash your hands. Also really great preventative measures. I love hearing you share about the products in your line that specifically could help in a situation like this. And overall, one of the things I really respect about BiOptimizers is the thoughtfulness that you've gone about creating your formulations. It's not just here's a probiotic, but you've been really thoughtful about what you're combining together to really address specific issues, specific outcomes that people are wanting to create with their health. And let's wrap up here by you talking a little bit about the quality of your products and the testing of your products and things that I know a lot of people are really concerned about when they're looking at trying a new supplement.
Yeah. So again, Matt and I are my co-founder. We were both personal trainers. Was how we got started years and years ago. And having been worked on every level of the supplement industry, from being a sponsored athlete to running my own store to working in distribution and then product formulation, I got to know the ins and outs. And I'm going to be straight up with people. Probably 95% of the products being produced today are running on trends. And as a supplement company, you basically have 2 options to enter into a marketplace. Number one, you spend most of your margin on marketing to bring in more people and follow latest trends and fads and those type of things. Or 2, like the 5% of great supplement companies, is you buy something, you manufacture something at either first in class or best in class. Usually, oftentimes, the founders have some story connected to, they needed to overcome something, they couldn't find it, they knew that this had worked in holistic health medicine, but they wanted to get a supplement that would work, and they built their own, and then that worked so well that there's a certain amount of people going. That story is pretty much ubiquitous between all the great supplement companies that I ever met, and I'm friends with a lot of them. And that's why I advocate a lot of other people's companies that that I know go through the same method. So when doing that, our policy was we're either first in class or best in class. We don't build products on margin. We built them on mission. And we believe that if we solve a person's problem and we provide a risk-free environment, in other words, we give 100% money back guarantees to people if they try our product, it doesn't work for them. So we take away the risk. And then we provide extraordinary customer service so that we can provide the education to people so they know how to take the product, that they understand what to do in the short term, in the midterm, and in the long term, to do aggressive components if they're compromised health or want to hit the next level of optimization, and then how to titrate down to just into their maintenance dosage periodically. So we've created like literally the A to Z on education to go along. We started out as an education company, and then about 5 years ago, we rebranded as a digestive health company because we realized we had all these people who were outside of our normal exposure that said, yeah, you fix my digestion, you fix my digestion. I struggled with digestion. I couldn't do this. And I was like, well, we're actually a digestive health company, So we rebranded from our original company. That's when we became BiOptimizers, and we focused on digestion and health optimization. We're now moving into other areas as we almost complete the suite of products that we have in the digestive health, because that's the first stage, and then you go on beyond that. So that's the history. We've got great traction. We've been around literally since 2004, so 16 years we've been doing it. And the reality is you can't have a company that long if you're not making a difference in the world. You don't have a loyal client base, because the reality is it's we don't have very high margins on these products. And but we do have a loyal customer base because we solve that problem, and we feel good about that, and we'd rather build our company slowly. But now we're kind of on that hockey stick curve, because people have kind of found out us thanks to shows like yourself and a lot of influencers who've got behind our brand and our product, because it does make a difference and doesn't take away from the brand that they built and the loyalty of, because of the communication that they're having with their customer base. So that's how we've been doing it. And it's been great. And it's a lot of fun. And I just love those testimonials we read out each and every week to our whole team on Mondays. I love the little old lady who's 65 and had IBS for so many years and got it covered, or someone whose child was sick every year, when they went to school and were always home from school and now they're not. I love those stories, and I never lose sight of them, because it reminds me when I was dealing with those people one-on-one every day, and it's great. It's really warming, and what a better way to make a living and have a mission in life than to do that.
Yeah. Well, we know how important gut health is in the Healing Rosie community, and for so many of the issues that I personally have dealt with, there's been a really strong gut component, and bringing that into focus and healing my gut and doing a lot of the things to strengthen my own immune system have been revolutionary in my own life. And so I love being able to bring BiOptimizers to the Healing Rosie community. And we are going to put, if you're watching this on Facebook, we're going to put in the status update here a link to P through M if you're interested in trying out that product. And we'll also put it down below on YouTube and Instagram. And if that's of interest to you, especially with the times that we're going through right now with this coronavirus, I think that would be a wonderful thing for you to add to your supplemental lineup. I have been pounding the vitamin C, doing the colloidal silver, and so many of the things that you just mentioned, just as a precaution. And I feel the same way as you, Wade. Overall, I'm not too worried about it. I feel like my health is in a pretty good spot. If I did happen to get sick, I don't think I would die. And that really comes from making a lot of smart moves with your health and really taking this journey on. So thank you so much for sharing with us today, giving us a little behind the scenes. I love learning how these amazing companies came to be and what missions drive them. And thanks for sharing about P3M too. That's awesome.
Well, thank you very much, Misty. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. And hopefully if they have any questions, they can always reach out. We got a great customer service team, and any questions that my CS team can't answer, I answer personally. So have at it. And I love what I do. And I thank you for being here.
Awesome. All right, you guys, we'll see you soon. Thanks so much.